Now, in their petitions to spare his life, Gudinas' lawyers had tried to argue their client had suffered from lifelong mental illness and was not in the right mind at the time he committed that crime in 1994. Obviously, though, those arguments were not enough to sway the highest court in the country. We're live in Starke tonight. Mike Valenti, News 6. Thank you.
That's it, right?
That's it.
Okay.
Until presser and then shoot ins and outs. Let's see. There we go. I'll give you this.
Yeah, you're doing that.
Okay.
I think doornail moves more than you do.
I think we are live. So.
You just point me in the wrong direction now.
Oh man.
Okay, let's. Well, we're gonna interview him real quick. I mean, hold on one second. Do you have time of death?
Oh yeah, I've got all that.
Okay, I'm just gonna.
You ask questions and I'll fill them in for you.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. Let me think about it.
Yeah.
Speak to you.
Taking notes.
Okay.
Okay. First off, can you say and spell your name?
Yes, my first name is John, common spelling. Last name K for kilo, O for Oscar, C is in Charlie, H is in hotel, enunciated Coke.
Okay. And your title?
Independent News Services, news correspondent.
Okay. So you were inside.
I was inside and a witness to Gudinas' execution.
Okay. The time of death.
The whole process took 11 minutes. The time of death was announced by the state of Florida. The sentence was carried out at 6:13 p.m.
Okay. Whole process took 11 minutes. So you got inside, and when you got inside, he was there on the gurney?
Yeah, he was laying on the gurney. He was looking around. You know, he was pretty well secured to the gurney, but he could look around and move his head a little bit. And he was very active and alert. He had an opportunity for a last statement, which was totally inaudible. Between the wine and the air conditioning and him speaking very softly, we couldn't hear. The three of us that witnessed this, we couldn't hear a thing.
Okay. You couldn't make out anything?
No. Well, there was a word here and a word there, but we all couldn't agree what those words were. So we have no idea what the last statement was, but he did give one. And then the execution phase began right after that. And you could see him going to sleep. There was some movement, some blinking, some short breathing. Within 4 minutes, you could see he was definitely out. At that point, the team, a warden walks over and does the eye flick, the shaking, and the name calling to see if he is truly put under. And when he determined it was, he steps back and then he says something into a mic, and then the executioner takes over with the final two chemicals to kill it.
For the chemical
Yeah,
cocktail.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, it would be two at that point.
Oh, yeah, but in addition
yeah,
to
the
the
complete.
first, to put him under. Yeah.
Complete.
When you got there, I mean, what did you first notice about his body language, his behavior, anything like that?
Well, you know, when they go in and are sentenced and sent on death row, they look a heck of a lot differently than when they end up on the gurney. But I can say in my experience of executions, he was pretty good looking. He looked pretty reasonably healthy, had decent color. He looked, you know, relatively intact. If he was, you saw him on the street, I don't think you could pick him out from a lot of other people.
And he didn't appear to be in pain during any
No.
point of this.
No. And if he wasn't aware of it, because with the 200 and so milligrams that they give you, you're out.
Is he wearing an orange jumpsuit or?
No, he was wearing a white shirt. You could see that. They dress him in white shirt, dark pants as a part of their burial suit.
Did he motion to anyone beyond the glass? Anything?
When the curtain went up, he was observing the witnesses in the witness room. Who he was looking at, I couldn't determine. But yes, he did. He was one of the few in recent memory that looked around and made an indication that, yeah, he was looking around.
Nodded at them or?
No, you just blinking his eyes and looking.
And not emotional?
Not that I could see.
Okay.
I can interpret that maybe, no, I'm not going to say. I couldn't tell.
Okay. And then again, you couldn't make out what he was saying?
No, not at all.
No.
And that's not unusual.
Okay.
Because the microphone is in the ceiling. He's laying down flat,
Yeah.
looking up, and you have that whine of that air conditioning.
Yeah.
It doesn't help.
So we're unable to say whether he expressed remorse?
No,
or
unless
acknowledged
somebody
his family?
in the future has written it down. I don't know. They do record these things,
Yeah.
but they don't make them available to the public.
Understood. Let's see. Did he have clergy there?
No,
No clergy. Okay.
not this time. Wainwright, when he was executed, did have a priest in the room with him. That was a first time that I've observed this in 94 executions.
This was the first time there was no clergy.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
no.
okay.
Wainwright's
Wainwright's the
execution,
first time.
previous to Gudinas's, was the first time that I had seen clergy in the execution chamber, as
Gotcha.
opposed to sitting outside on the front row.
Okay. So there were no kind of last statements of any
That we
attorney
could
or
hear.
anything
No,
like that.
couldn't hear a dime.
Okay. Anything else you think I'm missing?
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate
welcome.
how long did he speak for?
45 seconds, maybe.
Okay. Gotcha. And then when it ends, I mean, you guys are escorted out as soon as they declare the time.
Well, the procedure is that the team warden calls in the medical personnel that makes the determination that the death, announces the time of death to the team warden, who goes to the phone, tells the governor's office that it has been completed, turns around to us and said this sentence of the state of Florida has been carried out at the time it was, in this case, 6:13 p.m.
Can I ask you a question from your perspective,
Sure.
just zooming out a bit? I
Sure.
mean, this marks the 7th execution of the year in the state of Florida.
Mhm.
A man is slated to die next month. That would tie the most in Florida history of any year. It seems like we're going to eclipse that. I mean, you've covered more than 90 of these. Is there? Do you think that this is a trend that you're going to see more and more inmates get put to death
For Governor
every year?
Sanchez's administration, I expect him to sign them every 2 weeks. That it seems to be the pattern. And if you look at the pattern and you look at the convictions, we're in the early approaching the mid-90s. So it could be conceivably people who were convicted and sentenced by the turn of the millennium could be, by the time Governor DeSantis is out of office in December of next year, we could have almost 30 less on death row.
Well, if if someone had told you that years ago, I mean, would you imagine that was possible, or did you think that could?
Florida's a pretty conservative state. They still have a lot of people that. I live in a very rural area of North Florida, and they think that the use of lethal injection is too good. They want the chair. They want that physical effect of the chair. So I think Florida will be executing criminals for a long time until the state of Florida says they don't want it anymore.
Okay, and that means you'll be making more visits here to Starke.
I-
Does this weigh on you personally?
Of course it does, but I put it into perspective. I have to. I've done 52 years as a career journalist, as a news correspondent, and I've seen a lot of stuff. And you have to. And I have an hour and a half's drive in a very rural area to decompress, think about it, put it in a perspective. What am I going to write for my story, being, a working journalist like you? And by the time I walk in the house, it's put aside, and my family doesn't have to put up with it.
Of course. Okay. Anything else you want to add?
Not at all.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're more than welcome.
You mind if I get your number real quick?
Yeah, 386.
Hold on.
Did I have the cowlick in my head?
Three 386 205 205 and it's John. When you say traditional stuff, JOHN. Some people might consider it traditional.
It could be John, J-O-N.
Yes. And their last name?
But I ain't familiar.
Okay, we'll put you as independent journalist.
Independent newspaper.
Exactly. I got you.
I'm not really a journalist. I get my story now. I'm finished this one in about 20 or 30 minutes or whatever. I'm looking for the next one.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
I'll go away.
Thank you so much. Okay. And
I
so I
really
see
appreciate
the spokesman for Anderson, no irregularities.
usually I can. I can pick up on some words and I'll summarize. But remember, I'm slide cast, so I don't have time to, you know. Yeah. I like to get my stuff done in less than 50 seconds. And they wanted to 38. I should do that.
Hey, I appreciate it.
You're more than welcome.
Thank you so much.
I'm still here.
Are you gonna stay for the presser or?
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get something that's said.
Yeah.
I only had 3 sound bites and a voicer. Come on.
Fair. I know.
Let me go get the other way.
Have you stayed?
How eventful was it? You want to add it in?
The bathroom or over there.
You did
These
before.
people, yeah.
If you walk in,
Oh, you got like a liver thing.
Are we all ready? Are we all ready? You ready?
Not yet.
Not yet. You
This
gotta
thing
get
is
your
still
phone
trying
ready?
to turn on.
All that equipment, you got in your hand there, Cody.
More stuff at the leaf first time than you knew what it is, and I didn't know it. Oh, I know it. These things are brilliant.
All right, well, by the time I go to get him, you'll be ready, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm ready now.
Okay.
What are you looking at? Ain't nothing here looking at. All right. Get the bee started.
Thank you, guys.
Everybody prepared? Good evening. My name is Ted Bierman. I'm the Communications Director for the Florida Department of Corrections. Thomas Lee Gudinas was convicted of the first-degree murder and 2 counts of sexual battery of Michelle McGrath and attempted sexual battery and attempted burglary with an assault of another woman for incidents that took place in the early morning hours of May 24th, 1994. The trial court sentenced Gudinas to death for McGrath's murder on June 16, 1995. The sentence of the state of Florida v. Thomas Lee Gudinas was carried out at 6:13 p.m. on June 24, 2025. The execution took place without incident. Thank you for joining us tonight. We hope that you, if you have any additional questions, I can take a few at this time.
Did you say anything about his last statement?
I believe other reporters that were in the execution chamber may have grabbed
I
that.
understand there's some difficulty hearing. I see the AP article made reference to Jesus. Can you expand on that?
I believe that it was a short prayer. However, that's all I can say. All Anything else?
Are any of the family members interested in speaking with us?
There are no victims I'll be speaking to tonight. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
So, someone from the governor's office called our people, and they told our reporter there that